Jez, who's a Chelsea fan. Jez, a very good evening to you.
Yes, I've had better evenings, Mike, thanks.
Well, I'm sure you've had better evenings, but having said that, this is just really a sort of 4-day hangover from a very good day for you. Very bad night tonight, and actually, I don't think there's any excuse for it, because I think Di Matteo will be absolutely mortified at that performance tonight, because I think the owners of Chelsea are still looking for reasons not to give him the job, and the Chelsea boys might have presented him with one tonight.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, look, these players, how much are they earning per week? You know, they're professionals. So at the end of the day, whatever game they're playing and whatever the circumstances, they've got to put in a proper shift. And they didn't really do that tonight. And it was like the end of the Lord's Mayor show. So I'm disappointed. You know, we could have done better than what happened tonight.
So let's look forward then. How do you see things panning out at Chelsea next season? Because if you were to not beat Bayern Munich and not get in the Champions League, then do you think you'd have a problem getting in the players that you need and replacing those who need replacing?
No, we don't. I mean, there's a lot being said about that, about we must be in the Champions League, we must be in the Champions League, all of that. Yeah, we do need to be in there, but there's no panic amongst a lot of the people that I talk to on our website and things like that. And we run one of the biggest Chelsea fans websites, because we feel that, you know, as a club, we want players who want to play for our club, not just because we're in the Champions League. So it's a double-edged sword. And I think given we're in the Champions League final, I think if there are any players out there who are going to step up and say, well, I don't want to come to Chelsea even though they're finalists because they're a year out of the Champions League, I don't think we'd want them there anyway. So there's not that panic amongst the fans that we won't be in it. I've got to say, maybe amongst the bean counters at the club, but not amongst the fans.
So on that basis, I mean, where do you think Chelsea's cachet comes from? If you accept the fact that Chelsea don't have the history of success that Manchester United and Liverpool have, that gives them the cachet that it sometimes enables them to sign players, why would players want to play for Chelsea?
Well, I mean, that's a really good point, but I think over the last 15 years, I mean, I lived in Spain in the mid-90s, and we had a big name in Spain then. You know, and since then we've been in a couple of European Cup finals. We won the European Cup Winners' Cup. We've got a decent name. I mean, there are a lot of players now. Remember, the players now who are 20, 21, 22, 23. They were 5 when we were starting to really come good in the mid-90s. So I don't really feel that we don't have a lot of cachet amongst young players now. I really don't.
OK, Pep Guardiola, £12 million deal on offer, according to at least 2 newspaper back pages I saw this morning. But, you know, the smart money says, no, he won't come. Is that an indication of the fact that you're going to struggle to recruit the very biggest names in football?
Do you know, that's a really good question, Mike. Look, a lot of us down the pubs before Wembley and things like that, we're almost jaundiced around the manager, because we think whoever comes in has got the impossible job, because what he's being asked to do is to rebuild the team, get rid of the old Mourinho era, but still keep the results. And Arsene Wenger couldn't do that. I don't think Fergie could do that. He spent 3 years, didn't he, in the mid-2000s in the wilderness. And I think unless the owners are willing to give someone 3 years to properly build a team, if I was a properly good manager like Guardiola, I wouldn't come. I just wouldn't come. So I think it's the impossible job. And whether it's Di Matteo, Ancelotti, Mourinho, whoever, I think the only guy who could probably pull it off is Mourinho, but he doesn't want to come.
Well, I think the thing with Guardiola is that he wants a break. So I can't see that he would turn down a job. He would leave a job at his club, saying he wanted a break, and then go to a job at another one. But to go back to, first of all, to the cachet point, I think the thing that we missed out discussing is money. I mean, Manchester City, when they weren't in the Champions League, were able to sign players, and the reason they're able to sign them is because they're willing to offer them a lot more than anybody else. And Chelsea are ultimately also in a position to do that. But to go back to what you said about managers who are able to revitalise teams, Fergie, in the years that you mentioned, was still qualifying for the Champions League every time, and also winning cups and getting to cup finals. So there is a slight difference there, I think, also.
Yeah, I mean, look, you've got a really good point, but, you know, I look at the mid-90s and we still managed to get Ruud Gullit, Gianluca Vialli, Roberto Di Matteo, and Franco Zola. So even though we weren't really winning anything, I mean, remember then we'd been 26 years before we since we'd won the last trophy. So even then we could attract the great players. And I think a lot of players also want to come to London. I wouldn't want players just to come for that reason. So I don't have any great fear around it. I mean, people say, look, Liverpool, great history, great history. It was 20 years ago that they won the title. A player now who's 22 will have been 2 years old when they last won. So I think that the game is shifting somewhat.
It is. As you made the biggest point, coming to London, Now, remarkably, with all the clubs that we have in London, not one of them is called London. Not London Chelsea, not London Tottenham, not London Arsenal.
And none of them ever won the Champions League either.
Absolutely, they want to come because it is London. And you know, you read today about the way Europe's going. It's still the most popular city in the world. We've got to move on. Stay ahead of the game with Sports Tonight Live. Don't miss a thing. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Search for Sports Tonight Live on Facebook and like our fan page. Follow Sports Tonight TV on Twitter and tweet us your thoughts and opinions. Sports Tonight Live, it's the platform for the fans.